Okay, so actually we're going to start. We're up to 23b, all the ways on the bottom. Okay, we're up to Chav Gimel Amid Beis, 23b on the bottom. Here, the Gemara is explaining the Mishnah. The Mishnah talked about the different items that require 10, require a minyan, like to do something of Kedusha, to do something of Birkat Hamazon, Elokeinu, various different things. The Gemara, the Mishnah mentions also that if you are coming to redeem property, if a person consecrates, this is in the end of the year, the portion of Bechukosai, in the portion of Vayikra, the Torah talks over there about people consecrating, gifting to the Hegdesh, to the Beis Hamikdash, if they give it as a gift. So what happens is you have to redeem it. What does Beis Din do with it? Beis Din redeems it. So then you have to redeem it. Who does the redemption? That's the question. Who does the redemption? Who does the redemption? So the Mishnah said, so quoting the Mishnah said like this: V'hakarkois tisha v'koyen. That if you are coming to redeem, karkois means land, that's real estate. If you are coming to redeem, to evaluate, how much is the value of the real estate that you have consecrated? So we need 9 and a Kohen. 9 means 9 Israelites and 1 Kohen. Now, 9 Israelites is not necessary. You can use 10 Kohens if you want. You need 10. But at least one of the 10 needs to be a Kohen. The other 9, you can have anyone. But you still need a minyan. That's why it fits in to our Mishnah, because our Mishnah is talking all the different things that you need 10 for. And one of the things you need 10 for is in order to redeem properties. The Mishnah added one more thing. It says v'odom, and a person. Now, what does it mean in a person? There is no, excuse me, the Gemara is going to ask, there is really no such a thing as consecrating a person. A person cannot become Hegdish. You can consecrate a piece of property. You can make the property Hegdish, but there is no such a thing as consecrating a human being. So what does it mean, v'odom? The Gemara is going to say, by a person, it means when you say the value of my value is upon me. In other words, I want to give to tzedakah. I want to give to the Hegdish my value. So who's going to be there evaluating what you are worth? So over there, you're also going to need at least 1 Kohen and 9 people. That means karkois need 9 and a Kohen, and a person, when we evaluate a person, kayetzuban is also you need 9 in a person. How we know this? That's what we're going to learn about right now. So the Gemara asks, Mino Hani Mili. Mino Hani Mili, this is abbreviation that means Mino Hani Mili. From where do we know this? You came up and said that when you're coming to redeem a piece of property, you need to have 10, 9 and a coin. How do you know this? The Gemara answers, Omar Shmuel, says Shmuel. Shmuel says, Asore kohanim kisuvim beparsha. Asara means 10. It says 10 times kohanim, 10 times kohen are written in the portion. What does it mean? In which portion does it say 10 times kohanim? So in the end of Bichul Koisai, over there, it talks about people consecrating. It talks about a person saying, Erech, the value of a person I have to pay. So over there it says a Kohen. Then if a person consecrates an animal which is not brought on the Beis HaMikdash and you want to redeem it, it also says Kohen over there. And also by property. Let's look at the Rashi. Rashi says, quotes, there is 10 times Kohanim that are written in the Parsha. What does it mean in the Parsha? The Parshas Hekdoshes, in the portion which talks about consecrations. Now, not all of them are talking about the same consecration. The 10 times Kohen that is written is distributed between 3 types of consecrations. 3 types of consecration. Between all of them, you have the name 10. You have the name Kohen mentioned 10. Rashi enumerates the Parsha Hekdoshes. This is the portion means when it talks about consecration. Specifically, Shlosha, 3 times Kohen. It says Ba'arochin. Again, Arochin means the Torah says if you come and you say the value of the person is on me, that's called Arochin. Sometimes the Torah says a price for a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50, and a child, a man, a woman. There's different prices the Torah gives. And sometimes the person doesn't have the funds to pay. So then we evaluate. And then we bring in the Kohen over there. But it's not just the Kohen. We bring in 10 Kohanim. Not 10 Kohanim, 9 Israelites and 1 Kohen. So let's first see the 3 psukim that we have ba'arochim, by the evaluation of arochim. So let's
not
look
clear
at
what the Kohen, what's the specific about the Kohen? I mean,
what's specific about the Kohen you're asking?
Yeah, for property.
Okay, so let's go in the order of Rashi, and let's first see. Rashi starts off with the 3 by Arochin. Okay, we'll get to the property. They follow each other. So the pasuk says in Vayikra, Perek Chav Zayin, pasuk Ches, it says, "V'imochu me'erkecha." If he can't afford, he's too poor, then your value, because the Torah sets a value, how much each person's value is. If you say the value of this person is on me, the Torah says if he can't afford the value, so it says, the pasuk says, "Vehemido lifnei hakohen," so you stand them up in front of the Kohen. Veherich osoi hakohen, and the Kohen will evaluate him al pi asher tasig yad hanoider, based upon that the hand of the person making the vow can afford. Yarichenu hakohen, the Kohen should evaluate him. How many times is it said here by the Kohen? It says 1 Kohen, 2 Kohen, and 3 Kohen, right? There's 3 times Kohen by Orchen. Okay? So that's the first. That's the 3 that the Gemara says that we find by the Kohen, right? Then, next you have the Shloisha bebehema. And 3 when you're coming to redeem the behema. Let's look at the Pesukim. So we have the im kol. Now, if you bring a behema which is fit for a korban, then you have to bring it on the mizbech. There's nothing to evaluate. But the pasuk says, the im kol behema tmeya. If you bring a gift, you consecrate. You want to bring a gift, a non-kosher animal. You want to bring an elephant to Hegdish, right? Asher lo yakribu mimeno korban l'Hashem. You can't read. The elephant is worth a lot of money. So you want to give it to the Hagdish, and they're going to turn it in. How are you going to figure out the value of the elephant? So first the pasuk says vehemid as habehema lifnei hakohen. So you place the behema in front of the kohen, and then the next pasuk in pasuk Yud Beis veherich hakohen oiso bein toivu bein ra. The kohen will evaluate it whether it's good or bad. Like the kohen values it, so it remains. So by the behemoth may you have one kohen, a second kohen, and a third kohen. So that's the second time where the Torah uses the kohen. So those are, we have three, as the Rashi says, shloisha ba'arachim, three by the arachim, ushloisha bebehem, and three by the behem. And then you have four by karkos, by property. So 3, 3, and 4 is how much? 10. So we have 10 times. What are the 10 times Cohen is saying in the parsha? Let's see first the four over here. So here the pasuk says, this is in Perek Chav Zayin pasuk Yudala. They follow each other basically. The ish ki yagdish is basically kodesh Hashem. A person consecrates his home and he makes it kodesh to Hashem. So the kohen should evaluate it, whether good or bad. And as the kohen evaluates, so it should be. Further in the next pasuk it says over there, in a further pasuk it says, he consecrated his field after the Jubilee year. Again, the word hakohen here is hakesef. So that's the third time. And finally, all the validated by the kohen. So you have 4 times kohen. Again, 1 time kohen, 2 times kohen, 3 times kohen, and 4 times kohen. These are the 4 times kohen. So what do we have together? You combine 3, 3, and 4. You have shloisha, and you have shloisha and 4. You have 10. Did we lose? Oh, Ron is here, right? Okay, I just don't see him over here. But oh no, he's here. Okay, sorry about that. So, so you have 3, 3, and 4. You have 10. Okay, since we find 10 times Kohen in the parsha, so there's 10 times mentioned the Kohen. B'kiban the Meshalmi buhu asora inon asora gav. Since there is the complete number of 10, by all the hekdeshes, we require 10. Even though they're talking about different items, 3, 3, and 4, they complete 10 times Kohen. We need 10 people. 10 Kohen, 10 people. But wait a minute. Would you say, why 10 people? 10 Kohens. It says so many times Kohen, Kohen, Kohen. Why would you say 10 people or 9 people on 1 Kohen? Why not say 10 Kohens? If you say that each Kohen means another person, so why not say it means 10 Kohens? Why do you say 1 Kohen and 9 people? So the Gemara explains like this. Chad legufe. I mean, again, the Mishnah mentioned this because this needs 10. Everything that needs 10 was talked about the mitzvah, the minyan, and this needs 10. That's why he brings it down. So, 1 is coming to tell you, one of the 10 is telling you for the matter itself, the kohen ba'inon. Chad legufe means that we need a kohen. So one time it says a kohen. As a funny rule now, seems a little strange. If the Torah keeps on repeating a kohen, we say that the why would the Torah have to say again a kohen, like generally when again instead of a person? Why a kohen? So there's a rule that said the idoch and the rest. How much is the rest? The 9, the extra 9. The idoch havimiyut achar miyut. They are one exclusion after another. In other words, a kohen is exclusive, saying only a kohen and not nobody else. When it says again a kohen, again I'm saying to you only a kohen. But you already told me only a kohen. Why are you saying again a kohen and another kohen? Just another person. We talked about kohen. There is a rule. Havimiyut achar miyut. If you're saying only a kohen and then you're saying again a kohen, it's called a miyut achar miyut. You're excluding anybody else after excluding everybody else twice. The ein miyut achar miyut el rabis. So one exclusion after the other exclusion is actually coming to include and tell us, no, you don't really need a kohen. If you needed a kohen only, then the Torah wouldn't have to repeat kohen. The reason the Torah writes kohen, that's just the way the Torah is talking about the person, not that he has to be a kohen, but we're talking about the person who happens to be a kohen. That's the rule. Ein miyut achar miyut el l'rabis. I know it's a little bit of a strange rule, since it says already once kohen, and we have all the other kohens over there. So we say that one exclusion after the other exclusion is coming to include, and therefore Tisha Yisraelim. So what do we need? 9 Israelites, v'chad kohen, one kohen. One kohen tells us that we need a kohen. The other 9 times kohen. So we're using the 9 times to tell you need 10 people. But the fact that you're saying 9 times kohen, we're saying it doesn't mean really a kohen, it means an Israelite. So you need 1 kohen and 9 Israelites in order to evaluate the property, to evaluate the behema, evaluate the erech if he can't afford it. So you'll need 9 Israelites and a kohen. Again, 9 Israelites doesn't mean you need Israelites. You want to get 10 kohanim, that's fine. We're just saying you don't need a kohen. You only need 1 kohen, and the other 9 can be anybody. Israelites are fine. Okay, you with me so far? Okay, so the Gemara is wondering. This sounds a little bit. Strange. The Gemara asks, we should need 5 Kohanim and 5 Israelites. Why? Because the first one is a Kohen, you said, right? The second one is already an Israelite, because the second one is a miyut achar miyut. So the second one is an Israelite. The first one is a Kohen. The second one is an Israelite. So the third one is no longer a miyut. That should be a Kohen. So the first, which we had, the third, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th, they should all be Israelite. They should all be Kohens, because after you have the exclusion, that's only the one that follows the previous Kohen. But the third one will always be an Israelite. So after the third one, the 4th one should be a Kohen. And then you have the 5th one, that's an Israelite. So let's see what Rashi says. Why don't we say 5 Kohanim and 5 Israelites? And the Gemara Rashi explains. On the timer, since your reasoning is that this is one exclusion after the other exclusion, Hashlishi ain't a miyut achar miyut. That third one is no longer exclusion after exclusion, because the third one is coming after the second one, which is an Israelite. The kibbutz the Rashdile sheni miyut achar miyut. Since you already said this second one, that's a miyut achar miyut, so then Yisra b'li Yisrael. So that included Israel. So the third Kohen is an Israelite. The first one is a Kohen. The second one is a miyut achar miyut, is an Israelite. So the third one needs to be a Kohen. And the same thing, the fifth one, the seventh one, and the ninth one. So you have Kohen Shlishi. So then when you have the third Kohen, third time Kohen in the Parsha, Hashmi'inon de lahavi Kohen below Yisrael. That teaches us that Kohen on Yisrael. The Chen Hey, the same thing as the fifth one. The Chen Zayin, the same thing as the seventh, and the ninth. Chen Test, the ninth one also. So the first, third, fifth, seventh, and ninth should all be Kohanim. The Gemara says, Kashi, it's a good question. Gemara doesn't answer it. The Gemara says, question. Good question. So, but the Mishnah, the Gemara doesn't change the fact that that's what the Mishnah said. I wonder what the halacha would be in a case like this. But the Gemara doesn't answer. Okay, let's go further. Further, the Gemara says, "V'odom kayotze b'hem." What does it mean, odom kayotze b'hem? A person is similar to the property that you also need 10 people to evaluate. So the Gemara understands that if you consecrate a person and then you want to redeem him, you're going to have to need 9 Israelites and a Kohen to redeem him. So the Gemara asks, Odom mi Kodesh? Can a man then become consecrated? Well, why do you have to redeem a man? A man doesn't become Kodesh. So where are you going to have 10 people redeeming him? Omar Ababo, says Rababo, we're actually not talking about that the person himself becomes consecrated, becomes Kodesh. There's no such a thing. We're talking about the Oimer Domi Olai. We're talking about the person says, my money of my value is upon me. I'm going to give to the Hegdish whatever I'm worth. How do we evaluate the value of the person? How do we evaluate how much is worth? They say, I want to give my value for tzedakah. How do you evaluate the person? So we learned in the Braisa, the Tanya, it says in the Braisa, Ha'oimer domi olai, person who says, my money, what I'm worth, is upon me, meaning I have to pay it. Shomin oisoi ke'eved. We value him like a slave. In other words, what's the value if he was a slave, to be sold as a slave? What would people pay for him? No, that needs evaluation. You need 10 people to evaluate, to tell you what's the value of a slave. And why do we need 10 people? Because since we find by property, that property needs 10 people, and here we're going to evaluate him as a slave is also, has been compared to property. Because a slave, one of the characteristics of a slave, that a slave becomes the property. We're talking about a Nevet Kanani, a Kananite Nevet. He becomes the property of the master, so that the master inherits him to his children. That's just like a property. Property gets passed along in the family to the inheritance. So since the Eved Iskash Likarkois, a slave has been equated to property, the Ksiv, as the Pasuk says, Visnachaltem Oisom, talking about the slaves, you shall inherit them, the slaves, livinechem acharechem, to your sons after you that follow you, loreshes achuza, to hold on to them. That is like a slave. And always, as the verse says, they become your property forever. Now, it's a little bit, it's a little stretch over here, because a person is not an eved. He's only being evaluated when he says, my money is upon me. We're saying, how do we evaluate that money? We evaluate him like an eved. And then, by extension, how do we evaluate an eved? A real eved. So over there, you need 10 people to evaluate. Why? Because an eved and property have been equated. So therefore, this free person, this person that said, my money's up on me, he'll also be evaluated like an eved. Eved iskash likarkois. An eved has been equated to property. Shenemar, because the pasuk says, "Visnachaltem oisom libnechem acharechem," that you will inherit them to your children that follow you. Loreshes achuza, as an inheritance. La'olam behem tavoid, you will work with them for eternity. I mean, they always remain the slaves. Okay, that's the Mishnah. We'll go to the next Mishnah. Next Mishnah. Zog the Mishnah. Hakoyre batoyre lo yifchois mishloisha psukim. If you're reading in the Torah, meaning you're getting an aliyah, as we had spoken earlier, in the olden days, if you got an aliyah by the Torah, then you would actually end up reading in the Torah. You read the Torah. Apparently, everybody who got an aliyah knew how to read. And if they called you up to read in the Torah, you would actually read from the Torah. But each aliyah, basically, the Mishnah is saying, lo yifchos mishloisha pesukim, should be no less than 3 pesukim. Everybody gets at least a minimum of 3 verses have to be included in the aliyah. Now, in the olden days, we've had it already, in the olden days, after the person would read, and maybe he would read it softly, or he would read it in the Hebrew as it's written in the Torah, they would have what they call a meturgaman, a translator, who would translate the verse out loud for the people. So you read one verse and you translate one verse for the people. Today we don't have meturgamans, that was in the olden days. So he's basically saying to you that you can't read for the meturgaman more than one pasuk. Yeah, you can.
Like 5-10.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, as soon as you tell me you're ready to leave, I'm ready to leave. I say as soon as you were ready to leave, I'm ready to leave. You tell me, and we're ready to go. Okay. V'loy yikra lemeturgaman yoser mipasuk echad. Not to read for the translator more than one verse at a time. So the reader reads one verse, and the translator translates one verse. Why? Because we don't want him to forget and translate if you do 2 verses. Rashi explains, not to read for the translator more than one verse at a time. So the translator shouldn't make a mistake, since he is translating it orally. He's not looking. The person is reading. If he's going to read a second pasuk, he may not translate it so well. He may mix it up. He may be translating the second pasuk, not the first one. So one pasuk at a time. One pasuk, one translation. Okay. Turning the page now to 24a. However, Ubenovi, when we're doing the prophets, as you saw before, we read the Navi also in the shul. So over there, the Meturgamon, you don't have to do one pasuk at a time. It's okay to do three pasukim at a time. The words of the prophet are not as halachically laws as they are more of a storyline than the laws of the Torah. So by the Torah, it's very important. We don't want you to read more than one pasuk. But the prophets, it's okay, shloisha. It's okay to read three pasukim at a time, and then the translator will translate. Rashi says, Renovi shloisha, you don't have to do three. Im yirtzeh. If you wish to do three, you can do a maximum of three. And we don't really care if you make a mistake. Because from the prophet, there is no instruction, there's no lesson over there. So since there is no instruction over there, so there is nothing to really worry about. And therefore, if he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. So you can do, when you do the Navi, you can do three psukim at a time. However, he says, it's only if it's all in the same subject matter, the three psukim. But if you have Hoyu Shloshtom Sholish Parshias, you have three psukim, and each pasuk is like a parsha by itself. You know, in the Torah and the Navi, you can tell a parsha, there's like a paragraph. You can see there is a samach, a pei, there's a pesuch, a sosum. If the three verses are three parshias, and in other words, basically the three different sections, three paragraphs, so then koyin echad, you have to read one by one. Now the commentators already say, the Gemara is going to say, where do we find three psukim that follow each one is a parsha? We'll see in a minute. Okay, so if you have, so even by a Navi, if the three psukim are three different paragraphs, so then you would read each one and translate each one. We're not going to allow to do more than one pasuk if each one is a paragraph by itself. Okay. Where do we have the Gemara if they were all three paragraphs? So says Rashi, the Gemara mefarish heichim meshkachas lo ritzufin. The Gemara will explain how do you find three parshas that follow one another, three psukim that go after each other and they're different parshas. The Gemara will say. Another halacha, says the Mishnah, medalgin benovi. If you're reading from the prophet, you're allowed to jump over. You don't have to read the next parsha next to it. You can read a parsha in the Navi, and you can jump to a further parsha. Also, you have to realize, in the olden days, they used to also read from a parchment, like the Torah. That's the way they read the Navi too. Some shuls, they still have a Nevi'im written in a scroll kind of a style. But by a Navi, you're allowed to jump from one parsha to the next parsha. They're allowed to basically skip a parsha or parshios, go from one to the other. However, ve'ein medalgin b'Torah. But by the Torah, you're not allowed to jump. You have to go follow one parsha to the other one. Torah, you're not allowed to medal. Zokt Rashi, why ein medalgin b'Torah? Ve'ein medalgin b'Torah. Zokt Rashi, shashemeya es hakoifetz in mokem l'mokem, because one who hears that he is jumping from place to place, if you're starting with one thing and you jump to another subject, to another parsha, his heart is not settled to listen. You can't concentrate if you're jumping from place to place. So therefore, by the Torah, you're not allowed. But I guess by the Navi that it's not so important, so the Mishnah doesn't care. Yeah, come in. Sure. V'ad kamo hu medalik. So, how much can you skip? Can you just? There's no limit how much you can skip. This is talking about the Navi, because by the Torah, as far as we know, you can't skip, right? So how much do you skip? How far can you skip by a Navi? So he says, Ad kidei shelo yifsek hameturgaman. Which means, as long as you can roll the Torah to the new place, I don't care if it's 10 parshas, 20, the translator will still be translating. You don't want to keep the community waiting for you. If you can roll to the new place and the other one is still translating, then you're good. Shelo yifsek haturgaman, Zok Rashi, shelo yidalig mimokoim shu'ukoydet. Don't jump from the place you're reading, elo kidei sheyochel logul es hasefer, only so that you can roll the scroll, the sefer, the likred b'mokim hadilug, and to read in the place where you jumped. Koidem sheyigmer had turgamon targum hamikra, before the translator will finish the translation of the verse, right? That this one will jump over. I mean, it doesn't mean that he's going to read the jumped over also. He doesn't know what to read. But he's going to finish the Targum of the translation of the last pasuk, that this one is now jumping over from there. But as long as he finishes the previous pasuk, then we're good. And the reason is, why do we have to only go that far? Mishum she'en covered sibur lamed shom bishtika. It is not honorable for the community to sit and wait there in silence while the guy is rolling the Torah. That's the reason, actually, today that we roll the Torah. Yeah, you ready to go? Okay, yeah. So let's just finish to the point over here, and then we'll call it a day for today. Okay. All right, so we got to the Gemara, and Emir Hashem, we'll start next time from here. Apologize that we finished a little bit early, but Emir Hashem, we'll do it next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining me, and at least we chapter this. I'm happy. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.